This conference will now be recorded.
To departments. Okay. 4:30, we will now call the Public Safety Committee meeting for Tuesday, November 14th to order. Where would you take the roll?
Councilor Halverson.
Here.
Councilor Best.
Yep.
Councilor Foster's not here. Councilor Sanchez.
Yep.
Okay, thank
I
you.
like that.
Yep. I'll take anyone who wants to approve the minutes and the agenda together.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda for November 14th, 2023, and the approval of the minutes at the same time from October 17th, 2023.
Any discussion? Okay, any second? Sanchez, second?
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, first regular item is Mr. Franco, the resolution 23XX condemnation.
Madam Chair, committee members, staff, I have 3 properties on the condemnation list for dated for December for next city council meeting. Okay. The first one is 407 Street Street. We have been in contact with these property owners. It's from siblings, and they're looking to sell the property.
I love the bridge.
They secured it already, and there was somebody, one of their family members living next door to it in an RV, and they ran him off. So we're gonna work with them to see hopefully he can sell it, and maybe the next buyer will fix it up. The second one is 203 North Orchard. This one, we got called to this house by dispatch by CYFD for the conditions of the property. It's a 2-story, it's got a basement, and the water was leaking in the bathroom where the floor was kind of not stable. On one end of the property, it has a crack on the west wall, and another crack on the south wall where you could see right through. You could see daylight through it.
Oh.
And when you go in there, it kind of looks like it's a little lopsided. So we condemned it, and nobody's living in that now. The people that were living in there, CYF got them another apartment so they could get out of this property.
I went to that house. The Counselor Orpesa had some signs stolen, and he saw them in front of that yard sale and retrieved them for him.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you could tell the windows are all broken. Everything.
Mhm. And the third one is 319 East 6th. This house has been condemned before. It's just changed ownership. When they had the tax sale for the county, somebody else bought the property. We're just putting it over in its name. And since it's been bought, it's been set on fire. So yeah, it's way worse now. I have contact with the gentleman. He lives in Arizona. And he said he's gonna come down in a weekend to see what he plans on doing with it. He's gonna demo it, if he wants us to demo it and pay us back. Different options. And that's all I have.
Okay, any discussion on, any questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion just to send to consent agenda, consideration of removal of the 3 properties listed: 407 East Reed, 203 North Orchard, and 319 East 6th, and to consent.
Second. Any discussions? Yeah, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Chair, I'll take the next one. Ms. Sanders is actually at the conference in Ruidoso this week. So RFP 2407 is the scope of work for the Roswell-Chaps County All Hazard Emergency Operations Plan. We're required to renew this plan every 10 years. Currently, it's approaching 9 years old. So it's typically a several month process for a contractor to redo the plan, update the plan and everything. They'll meet with all the stakeholders in the area and in the city and the county. And this is one of the documents that is required anytime we're applying for any federal or state grants. You have to have this all hazard plan. So it's the money's in the budget in this fiscal year. So we're asking for you to consider approval of the scope of work and also to send to a legal committee for their review of the proposal scope of work.
We have companies that just, they all use emergency plans.
Yes,
Anyone on the committee have any questions?
there's multiple companies that do this type of work.
Is there a budget?
Yes, good.
All right, any questions from the committee?
I'd like to make a motion to send this to consent agenda. The money is already in the budget. Apparently, it's going to hit legal on the way by. All hazard emergency operation plan update.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. All right, next is our update on animal control.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. Alrighty, so we did release our October monthly report a few days ago. And so we can just kind of go through some of the things in here. As you can see, this month, our save rate was 72%, up from 53% last year. So that's about a 20% jump. The majority of that is due to the cat life-saving efforts that we've been doing. But we have had a little bit of an uptick in dogs, I believe, as well.
Do you mind if I interrupt real quick?
I'm sorry?
On the cat life-saving effort, have you had a lot of complaints from people where you're doing the TNR and you're releasing the cat?
Not too many. So we did have one woman who was like, wait, what are you doing? And then we talked to her afterwards and she was like, oh, okay, as long as she's not having babies anymore. Most of the people that we've been speaking to, we've been able to have conversations with and get them to understand what we're doing. If they don't agree with what we're doing, then we don't take them into the program. But
Because my question is, and I watch a lot of nature shows and they're picking up animals and releasing them out in other places all the time. We do that with the cats.
you mean like relocate, release
Yeah.
them? Yeah, and so the reasoning behind that is because where they're coming from, we know that's a stable environment where they will be able to be sustained. If we,
Sustain.
well, when I say sustained, I mean they won't just starve and die. You know, they'll be able to live their lives and then die in their natural lifespan. If we're releasing them out into say a random field, we don't necessarily know that that is going to be humane, and that could be considered abandonment.
Okay.
Yeah, so they do need to come back from where they came in order for it not to be abandoned.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, sorry.
Okay, no worries. So got some SOPs, increased medical and veterinary support. So this past weekend, we did send 20 cats and 10 dogs to Colorado Animal Welfare League for spay and neuter. So we were able to get all of our adoptable cats spayed and neutered and 10 of our adoptable dogs. We did also set up the weekly recurring surgeries with Dr. Walker. And so we've got that on board as well. We did one last week. We'll be doing one a week in perpetuity.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
What else we got in here? Oh, yes, and then the budget allocation report. So with the rescue disinfectant, some supplies for kitten kits. So what that is bottles, milk, et cetera, for people who find things like these and want to take care of them. We can provide them with that support. Spay neuter granting, operational supplies, vaccines, distemper testing, tag machine, and 80 new Kuranda beds because all of our Kuranda beds are busted. So the total investment so far is just over $48,000.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
Did you get the fly situation?
Yeah, so it's much better than it was last week. We did get a bunch of fly strips and we've been spraying in the rooms that don't have animals in them. I did speak to our veterinarian as well, and she's got some solutions that she has in mind, including, better maintenance of the drains, of course.
Those drains, I don't know if they were designed to be like sewage.
I don't know that they were, so.
He said they're washing the poop, the feces and everything down there. I was like,
Yeah, so,
Have a catch in the bottom.
yeah, there's little baskets in them that they have to take out and change, but if they don't take out and change, it's
that's
maggot territory, yeah.
I'd rather just,
Yeah, exactly. But yes, we are working on the flood control.
okay. Any questions for Nicole?
Madam Chair, I'll add one other thing to it. There has been a change on the oversight of the animal control. Mr. Burris has 1,000 hooks in the water right now, so the city manager asked me to fill in that role, so Nicole will be working directly with me.
Okay.
And I'll be the oversight through that, so June, I'm to focus on the scene, recreation.
Perfect.
Golf course and tennis courts and everything else.
Is it going any better?
Yeah, I mean, so far so good, pretty smooth. I've been really thankful for all of your support. So
Are they writing more citations now, actually citing people for,
I believe they are, but I need to double check with the officers about that.
the only way to fix the problem is,
It's, yeah.
yeah, and I hate to make people hurt, but it's like the whole community hurts when you don't take care of your animals.
Exactly.
Okay, well, thank you for that. We appreciate everything you guys are doing. Okay. Next time, Real-Time Crime Center info.
Okay. So my kind of plan for Roswell, when I came on, I'd mentioned it to a couple counselors and just in passing about starting eventually a real-time crime center here in Roswell. What that is I'll use Albuquerque. I toured Albuquerque in 2013. They have a center unto itself, fully staffed with, I think Albuquerque has probably 40 to 50 monitors on the wall of probably 32 inch, and they probably have 60-inch televisions, probably have 5 or 6, and then they have a couple, I think even 100-inch televisions. They're pretty huge. So what this does is it gives eyes around the city, not in neighborhoods particularly, because they don't want to, I think the goal isn't to where people think, oh, you're being Big Brother. It's going to be in business districts, parks and stuff. And I contacted Farmington. So Farmington has right now approximately 400 cameras. This started in 2016. So they've already gotten to the level in 6.5 years, 400 cameras. They started with grant money of $140,000 and $198,000. I can't remember the grant name. Karen Sanders said it the other day.
EMPG.
USTIC.
No, EMPG.
No, it's a different.
Shish cat.
USTIC. Okay, maybe they're the same thing.
Yeah. No, it's different.
So they used that. Then they went to ICIP the last 3 years, got $325,875 and $156,000. Their annual budget is $250,000 a year. They started, right now they have a director and 3 operators. They're fixing to hire 4.
The budget covers that.
Yes. They started by using sergeants, officers, and utilizing light duty employees to get it started. Their area for Farmington is in a small office with 2 desks. Each desk has 6 screens and 2 60-inch televisions on the wall. The thing that cost a lot of money to get started was the fiber. So they had to start building out, and what they were doing, using dark fiber from the electric co-op there, I believe. That's where they started. Now they're building their own fiber out. That's most of that money in the initial phases went to fiber. The problem they ran into, the electric companies were like, you do any damage to our poles or anything, you're going to have to replace them. So they worked out a deal saying, we'll give you, and I'm not a technical guy, but I guess each thing of fiber runs 48, I think, strands of fiber. And I learned that in a meeting last week. And they're giving them like 2 bits or whatever. So the electric company can actually use Farmington PD's fiber for use of the poles. And they call it, and they work on the poles, the electric company. So that takes away Farmington Police Department or the city of Farmington having to do that kind of stuff. They eventually started utilizing air fiber antennas, and of course, use some dark fiber lease initially to get going, which is also called a neutral zone. They utilize next level cameras, which are Panasonic out of Albuquerque. Of course, there's different companies nationwide or even statewide you can use. When they started building these cameras outwards, they also went with a company called Flock and put license plate readers at 7 ingress, egress portions of the city. So there's 7 main entrances, exits to Farmington. That is attached into their system. A couple of stories real quick that they brought up. One was a teen suicide attempt. A middle school kid said he was going to commit suicide. They went to the real-time crime center trying to locate him and actually located him 3 miles away from a zoom-in camera, walked into a school park. They watched him on the camera throw the rope or whatever he had over a jungle gym and hang himself. They had officers there within 1 minute, cut him down and saved his life. Another instance he gave was a gentleman and his wife went to Home Depot or Lowe's. She had Alzheimer's. He went inside. She jumped in the driver's seat, took off. They started tracking her, backtracking her on the cameras. One part of town they don't have the camera set up she went into. Fortunately, she went through the LPR. They typed in her license plate. It hit on the LPR going onto the Navajo reservation. They contacted Navajo police, state police, and they ended up finding her. They said without that technology, they wouldn't have been able to find her on the reservation. They wouldn't have had any idea where she went. So the goal of this, and also let me back up, with the LPRs set up and the cameras, their stolen vehicle recovery rates has skyrocketed and their crime has gone down. So in the meantime, we have 42, I believe it's 42 traffic lights in Roswell. Each one affixed to it is a camera. So we can utilize that camera at Roswell Police Department, but we can't use it real time right now. If we are trying to solve a crime or get evidence, we contact someone with, I think it's a city or state, and they have to go open the box, download that time onto a zip drive, and then we get it usually days later. So I met with Mike and Jeff Bechdel, and my goal was to try to get, at least in the interim, these real time for the officers and the detectives. It's doable. One of the things was, we can buy radio antennas and they have to be line of sight, which we have throughout town. Some places we can do that. They're about $400 or $500 a piece, or we can utilize fiber that's already on the poles or wireless antenna. Wireless antenna and fiber belongs to Plateau, all up and down town. So we've talked with Plateau. I talked with them again today. So they're still working that out about, in the meantime, leasing us access to that. So that's hopefully, if not, we may have to go the other route. But I think in the meantime, if we could get that going in real time, it'll help solve crimes quicker, prosecute better with more evidence, because we're missing the boat on some stuff that if we can utilize that at our fingertips, that would be great. So to get that started with the Real-Time Crime Center, we met with Jeff and Karen Sanders and Mike and me and last week. Their estimation to get all the fiber set up around town would be $3 million. In the long run, it wouldn't just benefit the police department. We're paying $800 a month as a city to Plateau. That would go away because we'd be utilizing our own system. Our plan was to start out from Second and Main and start outwards. Karen Sanders is at the grant conference in Ruidoso, so she's actually going to try to snag money to start the initial buying the fiber and that kind of stuff. And it might be years till we get it down, and I might not be here by then, and some other people in here might not be there, but we get it started so the next police chief, ex-city officials can take it and run with it. That's the main thing, is getting it started. So after this year with the West Second project on ICIP, we can put that at the top of the police department list next year to try to get ICIP money also. But we're going to be following up. Karen's going to help with grants to see what other grants we can get and slowly get this going. Now, the cost could come way down. We don't know what the infrastructure is. A lot of it is, digging up a sidewalk and then punching that line through. he thinks there could be areas that already have that. So that would save a lot of money and a lot of time. Of course, downtown would be, you're having to tear up a piece of sidewalk, punch it through, tear up a piece of sidewalk down the way. When we get more south where it's dirt, it's so much easier and more cost effective. So that's the plan right now. We'll hopefully get an update from Karen, probably not next week, but the week after Thanksgiving, and see if she made any headway on that. But I think it's a good project for the city to go forward. I think it will help peace of mind, especially down here. I've met with a lot of business owners down here, and they're worried about, of course, the homeless issue, the crime, people coming into their stores. It keeps an eye on them. And if whoever's in the real-time crime center runs that, they can actually give a heads up, hey, there's a person walking behind or getting into cars, or like the instance we had here at this building where the ladies went out at night and the guy jumped out at them and accosted them. So I think that's a benefit. In December, and I've been so tied up yesterday and today, I'm going to try to make tomorrow on my schedule, call Hobbs Police Department and talk to their chief and see if we can't get a tour of their Eagle Eye, which is their real-time crime center, maybe the second week of December. So
I've been to the one in Hobbs.
oh, you have?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he showed us how easy it was they don't have to chase the shoplifters. They just watch them walk out, and he walks around a building and there's a cop just standing there waiting for him because they saw exactly where he was going. And he said the high speed chases have cut way down too, because they don't need to chase, 50 miles an hour down Main or anything, because you can watch them on the
You
camera.
can't pull your fiber through plateaus
No,
because they put in a big hose. I mean, they put in a big,
that's something to where I know Jeff and I can't remember the other guy's name. Mike. They've been talking to Plateau with one of their engineers about what are our options. So that may be an option.
because they got a lot pulled out already.
Well, it's interesting how they dig too, because my backyard, I had a concrete slab, so they went in the alley, dug down,
They
Looks-
bored.
straight up, they bored, straight across and came up near the house.
And he was saying a lot of stuff that's way above my
Yeah.
smartness level for that kind of stuff. So luckily they seem pretty
I think they know what they're doing.
pretty got it together. But yeah, they're still having conversations. I think I told them at first, and Mike had the same sentiment, is like, I don't want to hear how we can't do it. I want to hear how we can do it.
Yeah.
I
And
mean, if you can lease their space,
if we can lease their space in the meantime, and then I think for the long run because I think that's talking to them, that's where everybody's going is fiber.
Yeah.
And the city into the next, how many years, fiber would benefit. It'd save that little bit of money, but in the long run, probably benefit the whole city.
Yeah.
And, we can hopefully, like you said, lease in the.
lease theirs until we can plant ours.
Exactly, until we get it moved out. And we can always do the cameras a little bit at a time. But we'll go, like I said, I'll try to set that tour up. And I think Hobbs probably uses a lot of their own internal money because they get a ton of oil money.
Yeah.
Farmington, talking to their deputy chief, financially, they're like Roswell. They don't get much oil and gas money, even though they have a lot of natural gas up there. Hardly any of it goes to the city. So they've been having to rely on grants and ICIP money. So we can probably do that and probably get with some of the legislators. When I get a date, I think me and Mike and Karen wants to go down and tour it.
Yeah, I'd like to go again, yeah.
And if you'd like to go down and anybody else, and then I can also get with Greg Nybert and give him an invite. I don't know if I want to, but because it would definitely help some of the Santa Fe people.
And we're checking right now because back in the 80s, when they redone Main Street, the big remodel of Main Street, all the infrastructure in there, there's been some question that they may have run conduit from corner to corner all the way down Main Street. So if they did that, we got the infrastructure in place where
That'd be
real
sweet.
simple.
You can
to
pull
Yeah,
it.
just run it
pull
through
wire
the conduit,
So
yeah.
really,
Pull it.
and I'm probably 3 steps below the chief in understanding all this technology stuff, but it really looks like we have 3 options: is eventually getting our own fiber, leasing the fiber from them, and in the interim, doing line of sight and sending the signal across the line
From the current
and
camera?
to the PD. Plus, we already have, I don't know, probably maybe over 100 cameras in city buildings currently that will be able to tie into, that they have access to at the police department right currently, not counting the 52 locations on the street intersections. And I think there are 4 cameras on each one of them going different directions, if I understand it right.
Yes, I believe so.
So 4 cameras on 52 locations, that's a lot of cameras. Picking up information and feeding information and helping track vehicles and different things like that, the chief said. So we're going to seriously look at this and see if there's some way we can figure out getting the information, a lot of that we already have, but getting it to the right place, the right building and the right.
Yeah.
And Rio Rancho just started theirs. So they're just starting their whole system. They went toward Farmington and they're getting everything going for them. And I'll use an example. The last couple of weeks, we've been getting hammered by car burglaries in town, and they're just jumping one step ahead. We've actually made a couple of arrests. We did an operation last week, spread out in 2 areas of town with our investigators at night, and we put our drone up in the air and actually caught a guy burglarizing a house. But with, we're having to use a drone that can go up for 45 minutes in this big city. Having that infrastructure with cameras, different places would solve a lot of those problems. And we may not have it on Twin Diamond or Mollison and Enchanted Hills, but we'd have it on the exterior of those neighborhoods where if somebody does car burglaries and leaves, we might be able to get a suspect or a car and solve a lot of these. Because I know that's, we'll get a few people that will say you're just going to be big brother and watch over us. That's not the case. It's we're not going to have it outside somebody's house watching it.
Yeah.
We want to be strategically placed to where we can solve some of these crimes where people have a better quality of life and don't have to get worried.
Well, and you could prevent it too. If you see suspicious activity, you can just send someone to patrol.
We do. We're tied out usually on any given night. We have, I think, 6 sectors, maybe even 7 with the base, but that hardly gets patrolled. So if we have 5 or 6 officers, that's including a sergeant out on a shift, we're pretty spread thin. And a lot of times if they're a domestic or something, we're breaking somebody away from the Delta District or Charlie to go back another officer up, leaving that sector for a time unpatrolled. And with those cameras, you're constantly, technically, you're patrolling because you're being able to watch out reckless drivers, drunk drivers. They might see somebody driving up Main Street going the wrong way at 2 o'clock in the morning where we don't have any officers on Main. Well, then they call an officer, hey, we got a wrong way driver. So I think the benefits, the pursuit benefits, which are, it's a nature of the beast. We run into them. It cuts down the liability. We had a pursuit recently where the driver was killed, and with that technology in place, you're not going to get every one of them, but you can back off and follow him on the cameras till he comes to a stop. Or if he leaves the city, then you notify state police or the sheriff's department. So the benefits, financially, it's going to cost hopefully more so with grant money to get it going. Also, one of the things a couple of these towns have done to cut back the money is Farmington's doing a study right now. They've gotten a couple schools to get into the system, and they're even offering it to businesses where businesses can tie in their system. So if a business alarm goes off at 2 a.m, Real-Time Crime Center can log into that business and look at their camera. It may be a cat. It may be, hey, there's nobody in there. It's a false alarm. It saves the officer time from having to, speed up. He may have a more important call. So it gives them a basis to judge what calls are priority and what not.
You may tell them about the school training that they did in Farmington.
Yeah, so they did a school active shooter training, and the deputy chief up there and the chief and them watched it from the Real-Time Crime Center. And so they had the subject who's the shooter go in, and then the SWAT team go in, and they track them live, go up this hall, turn left on the first hall, turn right on the second hall, and they guided him right to the room.
So there's no gas where he's at.
You said it was awesome having that. But that's one of the things, you get the school districts and what they're not doing it right now. Once they get it going fully, the school district will pay and so will the businesses if they want that. You know, it's a voluntary thing. Years ago, Albuquerque wanted to expand to where they would even, you know, on a voluntary thing, if you're a homeowner and you have a camera system, if you want, you can tie them. I don't see a lot of people doing that because they'll be like, oh, they can get on my home camera system and watch me anytime.
Yeah.
I get that. I don't know where it's gone. Like I said, I toured Albuquerque 10 years ago, and I don't know what kind of progress they've made as far as that, but I know that was their goal, is to try to get businesses on, schools on, and possibly even expand it to homes if the homeowners wanted that. But like I said, I'm just going off Farmington, and they're actually doing the test pilot project for schools, and they're going to do businesses, and eventually that money can come in from those and help pay for the operation of the system.
Okay. Any questions from me? I think it'd be great if we could get that. Is there any questions on that? No, there's nobody check. So before we move on to information, thank you, Chief. I had a question for you, both of you. I had a conversation today with Mr. Ferguson, the plumber. Yesterday, he said he saw somebody illegally dumping in their alley over there by Glenn's Furniture. He called the police. Police said they couldn't do anything. Called code enforcement. Code enforcement said they couldn't do anything. But the city's running a campaign about illegal dumping. If you see it, call in, and they do, and nothing happens. It's illegal.
It's illegal, but did he get a license plate number?
He didn't get, he's got a picture. He didn't get a license.
So, yeah, if he got a picture, that picture needs to be shared with code enforcement and the police department.
Yeah, I've asked him to text me, but he hasn't done that.
Yeah, so.
But I get
Hey,
Glenn.
they're illegally dumping, then they go out, yeah, there's somebody illegally dumped, but they don't know who it was. So.
But I didn't know if they could send someone.
Well, you wonder, Toby probably runs in the same thing. You wonder who they called and who they talked to. Did they call PVRCC and talk to them and say, it could just be in the wording, hey, this guy just illegally dumped stuff in my alley.
Yeah, I did
Yeah,
say
we
that
can't
right
get,
now.
but we may be tied up in
Yeah.
calls, and that's not going to be a priority.
Well, that's the first thing I asked him, if you got a license plate number.
Yeah, license plate. Yeah, definitely. We can follow up. It's a violation.
Well, I think he was worried because like Mr. Glenn, is Bill Glenn still? Yeah, Bill Glenn went out there and tried to approach the guy, and the guy started getting real aggressive with him. So then he went out there, and the guy finally just got up in his truck and left. But
Yeah, I had an officer go over there today, and he spoke to Ms. Ferguson and Mr. Glenn. He said, Ms. Ferguson said he called the office, he asked to get transferred to code enforcement, and he said the phone just rang. And he said that he called again, and it went to somebody's voicemail box, and he didn't leave a message though.
oh, okay.
And then he called again, and then somebody picked up, but by then he said, he would just get a hold of somebody else. But we really never talked to him. The reason I found out is Todd found it on Facebook, and he sent it to me last night.
No, I didn't know he posted on Facebook.
Yeah, they posted it on Facebook, but in the pictures, they're kind of far away. You can't see the.
It's just a red truck.
It's just a red truck. It's a man and a lady, but you can't see them, and the license plate number, you can't see it either.
Yeah.
And he put a video on there also, but still it's the same. It's far away.
Yeah, he showed it to me, and I was like, well. Okay.
But we did go this morning, and we talked to, officer talked to both of them.
Okay.
And by then somebody had gone to go pick it up. I guess Mr. Glenn called sanitation and
Not sitting in office waiting for somebody, they're out in the
Yeah,
field.
yeah.
So, instead, if someone calls code enforcement, the secretary answers and they ask for a code enforcement officer, they're going to get transferred to a code enforcement officer who's not going to be in the office, and you have to leave a message. So instead of asking for that officer, then give the information to the secretary that answers the phone, and then she has a radio to these guys that she can radio them in the field to tell them, hey.
Well, and most of them too, they dump and go so
Yeah,
fast.
it's so quick and it's very difficult. We get calls there at City Hall about illegal dumping.
Well, yeah, first thing I asked him was he took pictures. He said, yeah, they showed me. I go, did you get his license plate?
Yeah, that's the most
Yeah.
important picture. If we get a license plate, we can file on them in court that day.
Okay, then,
And I believe that they ran the plate on there and it didn't even go up to that. It didn't match up with the vehicle that they were driving.
oh, so it's probably stolen.
Yeah.
Stolen license plate.
And on your report, I had several things, your swings, are you working out those issues?
But what?
You said the sergeants down to the officers, you're having problems, sergeants frustrated officers and officers are frustrated with sergeants.
Yes, that they met. That's something that happens. The frustration, the calls for service have gone up. Just, I mean, summertime, that happens. And I think the frustration of their job, I'm sure the fire department had that too. You're going to have bickering. It's nothing that's out of hand. They had heart to heart. It didn't even have to, I walked in and actually they were having a heart to heart in the briefing and I walked out.
Oh, okay.
I like that to stay
So
at
that's
that
good.
level.
Oh, good. Then your city court issue.
The city court, we're still getting, yeah, that's a mess. They've been on top of that. Aldana actually has emailed Sesky a couple of times and never got responses.
I'll try to talk to Judge Siskey, because that's wrong if they don't get it.
No, they're not getting all their subpoenas and sure officers are gonna miss every now and then. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast, but a lot of these subpoenas we're seeing, they aren't getting served until after
They're
they're
already,
courted.
yeah.
It's going different steps. It's going to the city attorney's office, some, and then by the time they kick it over and it's getting put in their box, if they're on days off and stuff, it's never reaching them.
I might work with you, try to fix that problem. And then we're losing a lot of officers, and I know one of them spoke at the city council. Is that the pay issue or?
It's a big issue there. So some of we're probably going to lose. A detective came in today, or Detective Johnston. She's been with Roswell Police Department for 3.5 years, solid detective. She's leaving and going to California. We're losing one already put in his resignation. I signed off on the paperwork, I think yesterday or today. Going to Eddy County Sheriff's Department, higher pay. One's going to go to Las Cruces Police Department, higher pay. A lot of it's a pay issue, but a lot of it is, and I looked online just myself, some of these cities, I think of the one I looked on the other day, it may have been Alamogordo. The pay was about equivalent to Roswell, but Roswell Police Department officers are paying 14% into para towards their retirement. 14% of their pre-tax paycheck goes to retirement. I think it was Alamogordo. They're only paying 6%. State police pay 7%. So
Do they get more when they retire?
no, same percentage.
No, they get a large chunk because they, years ago, that was a thing that they had to choose that way. During negotiations, it was negotiated that they wanted higher contributions to their PERA. So instead, in lieu of, they may cut their 4% pay raise to 2% and the city pay 2% more into their PERA.
Yeah. So it just depends on, there has to be a certain percentage that you pay into para because they were on, except for the new people in 2014, they changed the law. So Roswell was on the municipal retirement, which is 20 years, 70%. Now they're after 2014, if you got hired on, it's 25 years, 70%. So you're paying in each municipality total into retirement. It just depends on how much you're having the employee. So like Mike said, some people go, unions go for the pay raise. Some people would say, well, I'd like what we pay in to be cut down. So if you're paying 14% and you get it cut down 3%, the city's going to have to make up that 3%. So
it's all work out negotiations.
at the end of retirement, at the end of the day, the people that are on Alamogordo PD, Roswell PD, they're going to make the same percentage, 70%, 20 years, because you get 3.5% per year.
Well, and it depends on what plan they're on too, because they can choose to go to the like plan 5, police officers plan 5, 4, or 3, I think there was.
And I think we're on 5, right?
Yeah, I think we're on the highest one.
5. And state police had their own retirement to where, I mean, this is completely different. They had an enhancement plan. It wavered back and forth in my career. I think when I first got on state police, we were paying 4%. It went as high as 9%. I think they're at 7 point something percent now. So that just goes back and forth on how much, like for them, how much the state's gonna pay, how much the city and stuff. But I noticed, and so the sheriff's department makes about the same, but they top out lower. So they top out at 29 something an hour after a certain amount of years, and then you're stuck there. The city can actually go higher. But the sheriff's department, the one thing, we've had a couple people interested in coming over, their paycheck's gonna get cut. And it benefits them in the long run, is these officers pay into Social Security, state police, sheriff's department are exempt. So it cuts into their take home check. And I think that's the biggest thing is they're seeing some of these other agencies,
A bigger check with less
a
benefits.
bigger take home. And right now in this environment, that's a big thing to them. I think morale overall is good. We're getting the cars in and, but that's the biggest thing with all the agencies, and it's not going to help. State police is looking at about another 10% raise. So starting out, they're probably going to be, if they get this raise coming up in the legislature that they're talking about, they're going to be starting at more than probably $11, $12 an hour fresh out of the academy than someone at Roswell Police Department. It's just hard to compete, and there's no way we'll get up to where Carlsbad, Eddy County, we don't have the money.
Yeah.
But they also got to look at it. It's cheaper cost of living here than there. So they probably need to be at a higher pay down there. So it's apples and oranges to me, but hopefully here in the next year or so, I'd like them to come in with to change the step process. They're on 20 steps. I'd like the fire department and police department to be down to 8 to 10 topping out because
That's something you guys do, Chad?
That's what we did, school district.
and you have a lot more, I think in other entities in the city, you have a lot more positions to promote into. So the last time we promoted for sergeant, we had one person put in for it. This time we're doing it again because we have to have by policy and by the union contract, a sitting sergeant's list, whether we have a position open or not. And we had one person in the whole department put in for it. So he's going to test, I think it's tomorrow. We don't have any open sergeant positions, but we have to have that running list. But we're not seeing people want to promote because they're like, well, why do I want to promote?
You don't get the same.
Because a lot of it, the way the structure was done, 2018, I think, they switched to 20 steps. So now I've gotten people at certain levels making more than the higher ups. So I've got a lieutenant making more than a captain making more than a deputy chief because they were just plugged in at certain levels.
Is that something you're looking at fixing or?
We need to look at all the salary schedules. We've got way too many salary schedules, way too many steps. The problem with having 20 steps on salary schedules, especially if you're a city manager, you can override. You can bring somebody in at step 10 instead of step 1.
Yeah.
We're holding firm against that. But that's the problem. And that's what creates those issues where you've got somebody making more than somebody else outranks them.
And I think bringing in, and I agree with Chad, that it's caused a lot of issues with that. Like police departments, we have to compete. So if we're getting a lateral transfer, we've got to bring them in comparative. But it's once somebody's in the Roswell Police Department, what I'm seeing the issue is, okay, and this luckily hasn't happened in the last, probably a year or two. When you're seeing somebody promote before, they're like, all right, we're going to put you at step 8. You're promoting from sergeant to lieutenant. We're going to move you from sergeant to step 8 lieutenant. And now if you get somebody promoting a year later, all right, we're going to put you in step 2. So they promoted less than a year apart and he's making $10,000 more. So that's where the problems in the past have come of just picking and choosing, just, like throwing a dice down the way. So I think it's gotten better. We'll bring somebody in at a higher step initially coming in the department to match where they're at another, because we wouldn't be able to compete if we can't. But it's once they get in there, we've seen in the past the promotional processes and stuff. It's gotten out of hand.
I just know we spend a lot on training and I hate to spend a lot on training and have the officers.
It's probably in excess of 100,000 because you're going to have them on for about a year paying a salary where they really can't do anything. When you talk the vehicle, fuel going up, overtime, going back and forth from the academy in Santa Fe. And
Then they go apply at state police.
well, and yeah, then we're getting people and then we're seeing them leave a year later. And it's like, oh man, we just spent all that money. But it's not just a Roswell problem. It's the problem.
Yeah.
The sheriff's department lost one to the state police with their lateral. They're actually have two
I
other
mean, they need the
deputies.
training. I'm not against training because
No, they
especially if they say it's benefit for us.
it is a
Yeah.
benefit because we get that experience. We get, the longer they're here, the more likely they're going to stay. And we're not just recycling a guy 5 or a guy or a girl 5 and 6 years on, going to another department, and then we're having to pay for a brand new officer that doesn't have the experience. There's just all kinds of issues that you run into, the money, especially being, now we're having to start from the ground up.
And we don't have to cover it today, but I noticed the fleet's getting old. Lots of miles.
The fleet's getting old, but we're fixing to we got 16 cars. All of them arrived in Oklahoma, so they're getting outfitted. We're hoping the first ones start coming in December.
We lost 3 in one night.
It's 3 in one night. A 15-year-old kid chased him. He rammed one of our cars. We hit a curb, and then we've hit a tree branch, which, they're fixable. Nobody was injured on that, but it's, that's the cost of doing business, unfortunately, for fleet. You're gonna lose. I mean, they're constantly moving around in their car, so you're gonna get more crashes, but we try to reiterate, look, take care of these like they're your own. We have to, but especially with young people nowadays, it's
No
on my
consequences.
car, but we're hoping, I'm gonna meet with Representative Nybert before the legislature and see if they'll maybe get some more money for ICIP and junior bill money to help one more year, try to get us some more cars.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, and one last thing. So we did get the command post. It's a stopgap. It's we got it from state police. It's probably valued at 35, 40,000. I got it for 8,000 from them. We actually have it out at Dean Baldwin Painting. They're going to paint it for free.
Oh, wow.
So they're hooking us up. So we got a good deal. So
How many miles?
16,000, I think.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Not bad. It's a 2004, but it's hardly used. And it's, we drove it, me and Deputy Chief Aldana went and picked it up and drove it back, and it's suitable. It's going to be probably more used for our crime scene team and investigations on call-outs, officer involved shootings, homicides, stuff like that. Eventually, of course, and I talked to Karen Sanders. She's going to help try to locate grants for a state-of-the-art command post to where we can use for some of these bigger events. UFO Festival, if we're having a problem in a neighborhood, we can park it in the neighborhood as some kind of a, little satellite office to where we can have people working out of it here and there. So that's down the line. We'll see what kind of grant money we can come up with, because those run probably a good one, 400,000 plus.
Cool. Thank you. Any questions from the? Okay, next is Matt. He's not here, right? And then Karen's out of town. And it's Beth.
So I mentioned in my monthly report that Mac Rogers had left the county. I think he's been replaced, but I haven't identified his replacement yet. He was feeding me most of my information about Area D and the build out there. Councilor Halverson and I were at the legislative hearing last week. The county has asked for ICIP funds on our behalf to build out Area D. I didn't know that ahead of time. But we're hoping for that. And our radio systems are our radio systems. We've asked for ICIP funds for that for the city. We did lose long distance service over the last month, not coming in, but going out. So, and it was intermittent. So some phone numbers it wouldn't let us call out to. We had this problem before, and it was about a billing issue. So they said they were missing a piece of paperwork. So I went and pulled the piece of paperwork that I turned in the last time we had a problem. It was the exact same time last year. So I'm going to be proactive next year. And in September, I'm just going to send them a copy of the paper. So hopefully we won't have that problem, but it's fixed now. And I'm glad everybody's sitting down. We interviewed 10 today.
Oh, wow.
8 are being sent for background checks.
Nice.
We have 5 positions, so we will have a waiting list. I'm hoping.
Always good to have.
So pray really hard. My team came out of interviews smiling. Not one no-show. That has never happened. So they're very excited.
That's great. I hope they'll pass their background check.
Well, they did pass a preliminary.
Oh, okay.
This is the home visits and like I said, we're very, very particular.
Yeah.
So, but they did, there are no warrants, there are no felonies. So we've got that.
Okay. Thank you. You have anything else, Toby?
No, not really.
Okay. Nicole, anything else? All right. Anything else from the committee? Any more questions? Anything from the public? I don't see any chat.
Nothing. Chat.
All right, then I guess our next meeting's,
Participation. Got some public here.
oh yeah, any public?
If you guys have any questions for me, I didn't know.
But you want to tell us about the porta potties?
Yeah, so after.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you say your name and address?
Geneva Martinez, ready to do my address?
Yeah.
3691 East Carolina.
She usually has a hat on.
Yes. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
I got called today twice. After we got out of your public meeting at the Aquatic Center, the public really came up with it was a pretty long meeting and there was lots of going back and forth, but what really came out of it was that Main Street Roswell and community members wanted to see some type of public bathroom on Main Street to deter urination and feces from people that are experiencing homelessness, addiction, or mental health illnesses. Christian Arnold is working on a Portland loo that could be, I don't know, 6 months, a year, 2 years.
It'd be years.
So in lieu of Portland loos, it was brought up at the meeting, can we get porta potties? I reached out to DeMarie's Pumping Service, Brandon Heber. He was the first person I asked to join the Roswell Homeless Coalition Board of Directors. He said that he would donate the porta potties until we figure something out. We were thinking that would be a 12-week situation. He did say that he would donate them as long as we need. They are located at Franklin Park, and there is a city property behind Stellar where that rollway is, and there's one place there. So Jim had agreed that his workers will do daily checks on him because he can only pump them once a week. So if there's something that needs to be cleaned up, if there's anything hazardous, that can be taken care of. We want to stay on top of it, make sure they stay clean. It was great because this is nonprofit, private sector, city kind of coming together to really look at the situation, what does the city demand or the community demand immediately. Got 2 to 3 weeks out, we got the porta potty there.
So I have a question. Is Jim's team educated in hazmat? Because if they're there and they have, because you've got city liability, and if they're there and somebody's shooting up in there or they're trying to stay warm in there, whatever the case may be, and they leave whatever, and like you said, they only pump once a week, is that what you said?
That's what they were doing.
So now you've got hazardous material,
Open stuff if they're used.
pills, needles, poop, because that's hazardous if you've taken drugs.
Yeah.
Whatever. So is the Roswell team prepared, not with just gloves, but clothing and everything? Because this is gonna,
These are the same situations he sees in the parks. So Marie's pumping service does the parks as well. Same situations. If anybody with, they use protocols, call Alianza, they can come and do the house out of that. It's the same situations that Brennan has said, that he sees people going in there trying to stay warm, fires get started. He had more situations in parks than he has in public view. So
And Madam Chair,
with this being in public view, it will deter some of that behavior. But do we want to see him using the bathroom in the porta potty, or do we want to see it on the walls or the alleys? I know it's not a win-win situation for everybody, but this is the best response we could do with the time frame that we have. And I think we can do our best. And if it doesn't work out and the community's cry is to remove them, then they can be removed. It's not any money.
The city's not paying.
Cities.
just to answer your question, Council Best, all our crews are trained on biohazards. And currently that's what our parks departments are doing, just like in the plaza here every morning, they pick up needles overnight, especially during the summertime. So, yeah, we have a biohazard training to put all our
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah, 'cause
I'm
we
always,
discussed that.
I'm always negative Nelly, just
Well, no, we had
things covered.
We had discussed that because we were worried about even the fires. He was worried about his porta potties because they go in there, stay warm, they start a fire. Well, they're plastic, they torch them.
Mhm.
So I appreciate your efforts. So. Okay, anything else from anybody? We will adjourn 5:26. Look, we kept it under an hour. Thank you. Thank you, Mike.